All right, we're back. Sorry about that, guys. Looks like we had some technical difficulties. It looks like we're coming through clear now. I'm not hearing anything. Hopefully, we got this all fixed up. So we're going to start by just introducing yourselves. You guys know me. I'm Brad. I'm the community manager here at Masterclass. We also have a second community manager now. This is Hillary. She's joining us starting yesterday. So everyone, welcome Hillary to the event. Third, we have Julian, who's on our recruiting team. Julian, do you want to introduce yourself and why you're here today?
Yeah. Hi, guys. Really excited to join in on the conversation. I do recruiting and operations over here at Masterclass, and I'm also an aspiring singer, I guess. I've been in a few rock bands, and so I'm really excited to chime in and learn more about what you guys have to say about Etta James as well.
Cool. And then we have our two co-hosts who are from the class. We have Alma and Brian. Alma, how about you introduce yourself first?
Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Alma Allen. I am 40 years old. I am originally from the Philippines, and my family and I just moved here to Texas last September of 2014. And yeah, I'm so happy to be here in the United States. I'm a mother of twins now, both girls and 8 years old, and we all love singing. So yeah, nice to meet you all.
Awesome, great to have you, Alma. And Brian, how about you introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, it's me, Brian Eccles. 29 years old, aspiring singer, and also life coach, working with a specialization in relationships now. But eventually, I want to, become a dream builder, as I say it. And I'm here to help out as much as I can. So if anybody needs any help or needs any suggestions.
Awesome. Great to have you, Brian. Thank you guys both for joining us. Thank you, everyone at home, for joining us, too. Excited to have you. We're just going to jump right into the discussion. Our first discussion topic, as you see on the agenda, if you have the discussion topics, Hillary will post it in the group, in the chat room. Our first discussion, we're going to be talking about Etta's performances. We've listed a bunch of them in the Facebook event page. We'd love to know everyone's thoughts on her different performances, which one was your favorite, and if you found any more that you'd like to see, or that you'd like to share with the class. If you found them, please feel free to share your links in the chat room. Alma, what were your favorite performances that you saw of Etta's?
Oh, I love her song, At Last. Who wouldn't? It's a song, and I could relate to that song so much because I love singing, and I started at a very young age too. And I think it has a strong material throughout. The words in that song are so deep and well thought, and I love the line that I found a dream that I could speak to, a dream that I can call my own, and that really, hits my heart because I'm a performer. That's why it's really being used in a lot of auditions, I think. So yeah, I love that song so much. And I even posted in the masterclass singing that song with my two daughters.
Yeah, I saw that one. If you guys didn't see it, check it out. Alma's daughters are great singers, and it's a really cute video of her singing there with the book.
Thank you.
Brian, what were your favorite performances from Etta?
Well, like we discussed, the one that I found was actually the one that I liked the best that we're probably going to talk about today is the one she did with Carlos Santana. I was amazed that Carlos Santana, he's always been that guy that's got that gritty guitar feeling, but with her, her voice carrying that gritty soul feeling, putting them together, that was one of amazing memorabilia performances that I loved. And I also loved one of my favorite singers from back in the day, Chuck Berry. She did something with him, and you could tell that even though he was doing very small lines, she was leading. You could tell that they meshed perfectly together like a duet should. They both brought out the best in each other, and I liked that. And I know we're in the Christina Aguilera Masterclass. I would have really loved, and if anybody has already saw one, please share it in the link because I want to see it. But I would have loved to see a Christina Aguilera duet with her if that was possible. If it's out there, let me know about it because I want to see it because that would be great to see those two together.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure I saw something that included the both of them. I know that there was a video when I was doing the research about like obviously about Christina being inspired of her, but I'm pretty sure there was something out there that I saw. I'll try and find it, and if I find it, I'll share it in the student group. My favorite performance of the ones that I shared, I think my favorite one was the one she did with Dr. John. It was I'd Rather Go Blind. The first time I heard that song was, I feel embarrassing to say this, it was only like 4 years ago, and it was on like the X Factor, and one of the like little contestants, she was like 12 or 13, she performed it, and it was really great. And so that was when I like learned that song. I thought it was amazing, and then that performance with Dr. John was so emotional. That was probably my favorite of the ones I've seen recently. Guys.
I really liked that one too, and I thought like by the end, in light of Christina's discussion on like making eye contact with your duet person and like really connecting with them, they were like holding each other in each other's arms, and I thought that was such an intense moment to share on stage in front of an audience. I really liked that one too.
Yeah, I really liked. Well, what resonated with most, like when listening to At Last, is that line that Alma referred to, which is the dream come true, or what is it called? What is it? It's the
Dream. I found a dream that I could speak to.
Exactly. I found a dream that I could speak to, and then hearing Christina during Etta James' funeral talk about that, and talk about like the dream that she could speak to, which was emulating Etta, was really powerful to me, because in that, I mean, just in that performance, you could really feel Christina's emotional connection with an admiration for Etta and for everything that she stood as and one of the most influential singers of her time.
Totally. And I mean, I think with Christina, it's why we're all here today, is like we're inspired by Christina, and just see like her inspiration be such like a amazing person with like the voice that like carries. I think it's awesome that we can see that in her performances too, and Christina's performances are inspiration.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that point too, because you think about it, all of us have influences that influence us to want to become singers or something. So having Christina emulate Etta in a way, but she says not to necessarily, copy their style, but make it your own. Seeing that we all have our influences and our heroes, and just seeing that we're here today, look at the history of music and how it's always influenced. There's always been somebody before that's influenced it. So we need to find our heroes like that, and just, not so much as idolize them, but just, respect them and love them for them, and just, it's kind of spiritual in a way. It's just, kind of make it essence a part of them, part of you, and your music is a tribute to them too. That's what I love about it. That's the thing. I'm glad you mentioned that point there.
Yeah. In the chat room, we have Eva313 saying that she likes Something Got a Hold on Me, as well as At Last. Two songs that we've already mentioned that are also like really, really great. So let's talk about them. Some of these signature songs, we talked about like what our favorite were, but like some of her songs that have like made Etta an icon. The Wallflower, which was her very first song. I'd Rather Go Blind, the one that was my favorite. Tell Mama, Something's Got a Hold on Me. How do you guys feel that these songs established Etta as a unique performer and an icon? What was it about these songs and her performances that made her last a lifetime? Brian, Alma, any thoughts? Julian, Hillary?
I know I have a thought. Like the last, as I told you, and I'll tell the group out there, but it's watching. If you go and watch, I'll post it in the group so you can see it, but there's a soccer game called FIFA 16, and having that for the opening song, At Last My Love Has Come Home, and it describes the game of football, the game of soccer as, coming home as a new, but just hearing that voice, At Last My Love Has Come Home, stringing it out, it really sets a tone to me. It set a tone, my wife and I was talking about it, sets a tone for the R&B singers of our generation. It sets a tone for the soul and jazz, because some jazz I like, some jazz I don't, but she really pulls it in. You can feel it. And I know, Brad, we were talking about it before we went on air. I heard you guys talking about how she was like that bad girl type, She was wanting to be that bad girl, so you can hear it in that. It's like James Dean, Rebel Without a Cause. He's the guy that wanted to be the rebel. Well, she's a rebel with her voice. She really pulls it out, and just, it's like she doesn't miss a beat. And if you watch her performances, too, you can see it in her eyes. You can see it in the facial features. it captures me. It really does. I would have loved to see that live, being in the front row, just looking up at that and seeing that boom right there. You know, it captures it. It captures the soul. That's what we need to do as singers. We need to capture that soul and pull it out there and just boom, throw it out there to the public. You know, just be happy with it and get it to that master craft of music to feel it, because music is an expression of the soul.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like, I mean, when we talk about Etta James, like, when you said that her being a bad girl, I was reading a really interesting article, and we'll get into this later about her legacy, but the article talks about how she never wanted to she wanted to do whatever she wanted to do. She didn't want to do anything that she was told to do. She just wanted to do what made her happy. And what made her happy is she liked being bad. She liked, like, having this, like, soulful, like, weird experience. And I think part of it comes from her childhood, being, you know, born to a young mother, very young mother, 14 years old, and then also having, like, not knowing who her father was, and she was connected to this very deep, dark place. And it makes you wonder, and again, we can talk about this later, but, like, can you be a soulful singer and not have gone through some of the tragedies that Etta experienced, or some of the more famous soulful singers have experienced in their life, and, like, what gets you the ability to sing like that and go from something more deep? Yeah.
And just to add to that, you know, when I was reading an article about her, it was so interesting that, like, one of her first songs, "Roll With Me, Henry," she cut.
I was about to say that.
15 years old, and it was very risky for that time. We're talking about a time where there were very traditional male and female roles in society. Not to mention the more of the ethnic underpinnings, right? And the civil rights movement that was going on during that time, and segregation specifically. And I find that so interesting because she wanted to be that risky. And just to tie this back to Christina, because I find it so interesting, Christina was only 19 years old when she did Genie in a Bottle.
Oh, Genie in the Bottle. Oh, yeah. And then she followed up with Dirty, which was, like, again, like, very scandalous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so not only in singing, but also in her life, I feel like Christina was emulating Etta in that way.
What were you going to say, Alma? Sorry, we interrupted you.
Oh, it's about also that song, The Wallflower, because it was released in 1955, and, you know, the original title is Roll With Me, Henry. And, you know, to avoid censorship, they changed it into Dance With Me, Henry. And yeah, she's really clever in picking some words that she put on her songs. You know, it really puts a mark in the music industry. And with Something's Got a Hold on Me, it was really recognized in so many ways. It was even performed in Brussels music. Voy con Dios, you know, covered the song in their album in 1990. And also it was revived by Christina Aguilera. And I think even sang that in her movie Burlesque in 2010.
Oh, did she? I saw it. Awesome. I don't remember what songs were in it. But I know, but there was a lot of great music in that. I want to bring in a couple comments from the chat room on the topic of, like, singing from, you know, your heart, the messages, your story. So Eva313, and sorry everyone at home, the names are anonymous, so unless you create an account, so I don't know who everyone is, but Eva313 said that what she likes most about Something's Got a Hold on Me is the messages and the story. She also said that she likes how she feels when she performs it, and when you know a performance is good is when they're performing, you feel that when an artist feels their performance, that's when you know that it's good. Darsto says that for them, At Last is an iconic song for weddings and even cover performances. Everyone loves that song. It can never be too old, which is true, and something that I was going to talk about later is that, like, that song is literally, I think, the most played song at weddings, and it was also at, you know, Barack Obama's inaugural, like, dance he did to, like, for Beyonce sang it. Darso also said, I love the soul and emotional piece. I relate to that in my own songwriting, and Darso is an R&B soul artist, which is really cool. And Jesse, I think it looks like Jesse Ramos, music is the expression of the soul. That's exactly what it is. So cool. Great thoughts in the comments, everyone. Thank you. Let's move on. Unless you guys have any other thoughts, let's move on to the next subject, which is Etta's voice. It's a very recognizable voice. It's obviously been inspired. It's obviously inspired tons of artists. It's gruff, but it's soulful. But also, it's still like very smooth at the same time. She can go across multiple genres, and it's extraordinarily unique. I wanted to see if you guys have any thoughts about how someone can define their voice to be, and Alma, in particular, this question was kind of for you because you are a vocals coach. I would love to see like your thoughts on how someone can make their voice as unique as Etta and where that comes from. If you think, is it just can it be learned? I guess is the question.
You know, Etta's voice was often very soulful and captivating, and her voice possessed a vocal range of a contralto. And it is the type of classical female singing voice whose vocal range is the lowest female voice type. But when she sings, you know, just like what Christina said when she teaches in the masterclass, the pain is very important, you know, in every aspect of our life. And I think Etta is trying to squeeze out all the beauty out of all the tragedies that she have experienced in her life and put it in her performances. And that's why she's a very remarkable musician or singer, because it goes deeply, you know, straight to the heart of the listeners. Yes. And contralto is a counterpart of like a countertenor in a male voice. So it's not really an alto. So that's kind of unique, and that creates a trademark of Etta James.
Do you think that's something, Alma and Brian, do you guys think it's something that someone can learn? If it sounds like it's her type of voice, like her vocal range, but also like her emotion, her soul, do you think that's something that people can pick up and maybe not emulate, but create in their own voice?
Well, yeah. I know I took choir for a while, and I actually had vocal lessons and had a bad experience with that, but what I've learned is, like I said, I mentioned R&B earlier. My wife got me into Toni Braxton and some of her soul singing.
Oh my God,
and
I'm in love with her.
Yeah, she just said it. She's in love with her voice. And those R&B singers, R&B stands for rhythm and blues, you know, and she's got that, and so is jazz. Jazz has got that blues. So I don't really think you can try to emulate it. You mean you can, but it's not really going to be as great as if you actually feel it, because you're sitting there from your own soul, writing down the pain and dealing with that pain of like the breakups. Like you can talk about another style. Look at country music, the way it used to be. Breakups about, you know, really bad breakups, heartfelt, getting drunk, lost people in your family. Music in general, like we said, it's a universal language of the soul. So it's really, the way I see it is, it's the best singers come from the heart. The best singers come from within. They actually feel that soul and that heart, and they pull it out. And so you have to actually experience that pain. It's like being a writer. You have to experience that pain of writing those songs, of how you feel. It's poetry in motion. All the greatest poets of our time even wrote from their emotion. Edgar Allan Poe, guys like that. That, to me, is what makes Etta. And Christina, she talked about that song called Fighter that she did. That right there, it cannot be emulated. You can try, but you'll never get it spot on unless you've suffered those same things. That's why music as a whole, that's why we all love it and we all identify it. That's why we're all here, and that's why people listen to music, is there's always songs out there that capture our attention because the stories relate to us. That's how I feel. You know, that's why I say we can't emulate it with our voices. We might be able to emulate it with our hearts, but we can't emulate it with our voices unless we felt that pain before.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just gonna add in that, you know, like in terms of like her singing style, her ability to, it's interesting to hear that she was a contralto, because her ability to just go up and down the scales and just be able to you know, and the fluctuations within her voice throughout her songs, and how she would just ad lib also in the middle of a song. It was kind of like her life, which was just, it was chaotic. It was, you know, distracting. It was filled with all of this pain and all of these like traumatic events that really caused all of these upheavals, I feel like, and it's really emulated in her in her, in how she sings. So that's what I wanted to add.
Okay, cool. Couple comments in the group. Eva313 says, work on your growl and rasp, but not too raspy. Also work on your riffs and runs. Try to find something that makes you relate to the song that you're singing. So it's not just going for the ups and the downs and the riffs and the rap, but it's also like relating to the song, and that's how you create your unique voice. She mentions Christina's song "Hurt." It's a very simple song, but she's found a way to connect to it and making your own with the riffs and the runs. And then Ashi's, I'm sorry, some names are just always random. Ashi says, Etta spoke her truth and you believed it when she sang her stories. Tough question. I think it comes from within when you're talking about can you create this voice. If I'm singing a soulful blues song, I feel that song. It's hard to describe, but my voice sounds gritty or from deep within my heart than say if I'm singing a jazz ballad or an upbeat pop tune. Singing from the heart speaks your truth. These names they give you people, the names they give everyone are very odd. So Jack Cavans, I think it's not just that she can feel the song and connect with it, but she isn't afraid to hold back either. There's soul, but also confidence that doesn't care who's watching when she's bearing her soul. So I think we all agree that it's the confidence and ability to just go with it and then take it in that moment of what your voice is when you're singing that song and connect with the words.
I think a lot of these comments in the chat room are all touching on that soul and that raw emotion that she's showing. And I think for me, in watching live music in general, my favorite moments are when the artist or the performer is so caught up in what they're singing, and it makes them smile or makes them cry or makes them lose their breath. Those are the most captivating moments, and I think Etta James has so many of those. And in some of the videos that we saw, so I don't think that's something that you can be trained for, right? Yeah. I think it's just this raw emotion that kind of takes over.
And it's something maybe you learn when you do performances as you get more.
Yeah, Brad. Mentioning a thing that my wife mentioned too, talking about Christina a little bit too. There was a song she said she doesn't know what it was, but she sang it at her dad's funeral. Too. She did the Etta James song for her, but
her dad died in there.
Something about her dad died in the video, and she said it was a tribute, I guess, to her dad, or I don't know what it was, but I don't know what song it was, but it's just it can't. We come to this conclusion it can't be really emulated. Like I said, we could try, but you're not going to capture that 5-star quality, and people aren't going to identify with you as much because I think the broad audience, if I tried to sing a song right now that copied off of somebody with the emotions and I never experienced it, people are going to see somewhat of a fake mask on my face. It's kind of like ad-libbing a song, just going through it acting like it. It's different than just being able to feel it. You got to feel it. That's what takes a truly talented singer. That's why we got to dig deep inside of us and write those songs and sing those songs. That's the best part right there.
Totally, and I guess maybe the answer is not that you should emulate it, but you should just speak your own truth. And you should speak the voice that you have as your own and utilize and enhance that and embrace it, which is clear that Etta does. And I think that, probably very easy to embrace her voice for Christina because it's a beautiful voice. But just embracing it and making your own is what you have to do. I'm going to move us on to the next subject, which is going into influence of Etta James' influence on culture, but we'll start with Etta James' influence on Christina. We've touched on it a little bit. Are there any songs or performances that you guys have seen of Christina's where you can see the influence from Etta, or maybe anything she said that you've seen or read about where she said, this is my influence and how it inspired her? If anyone's on anything, I think the one that comes to mind for me, and it's in the class, is Stronger. She talks, so in the class, I can't remember which lesson it is, but Christina's talking to one of the students, and she's telling her to sing from her gut and just be very strong, thought I knew you, that part, whatever. And I was watching one of the Etta James videos, and it's Fighter, not Stronger. Which one is it?
Fighter.
It's Fighter. I'm sorry, everyone. I just messed that up. How embarrassing. But, in that song, she. I was watching Etta, and the way she sings, she sings the same way. Her motions are the same, and I was that's exactly what Christina was doing in that lesson. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I wanted to know, what do you guys think? Adrian says fighter for sure. That's actually how I realized I said the wrong name. But yeah, what did you guys think? Alma, looks like you have something.
Oh,
You're Alma, you're muted. You're muted now. There you
yeah, I can see Etta James' influence with Christina with the way she dressed up, during the old, especially in her album Back to Basic, and when she sang the song "Ain't No Other Man," I've seen Etta James' influence in that. Plus, I think Christina really admires also Etta James because they both have a sad childhood, and I think she could really relate to Etta James that much on that aspect. So yeah, so their music speak for them, and yeah, that's
go. Totally. Jesse in the chat room says, yes, Back to Basic definitely has that vibe, that very strong, like, soulful vibe. What do you guys think? Anything you saw at his performance? I mean, obviously the performance that Christina did at his funeral was very obviously inspired by Etta, but also also a huge tribute to Etta. Go ahead.
Yeah, huge tribute to Etta, and also I think it touches on that point of really singing from your heart. I feel like in that performance, you're able to see Christina singing like from her heart about how much what she cared about in terms of like everything that she like admired about Etta. But then also you could see that how the influences of her singing were from what she probably picked up from watching Etta and emulating Etta in every way. Like, I mean, everything from just the growls to just the rips and, just the really just the turns in her voice, I feel like are very reflective of Etta's singing and her style. So yeah, I think Christina achieved what she really wanted to achieve in terms of that dream, which is of emulating Etta.
Cool. Any other thoughts, guys, about her influence on Christina?
Well, one of the things that my wife mentioned, she found the song, and that's the song that I was just looking at, is the song called Hurt. You can hear it when she talks about it and she sings it, it's like the first line right away. Seems like it was just yesterday when I saw your face. You told me how proud you were, but I walked away. And you can feel it. It's almost... You heard her. She said she started crying. It's one of those songs that's so soulful. There's nothing I wouldn't do to hear your voice again. Sometimes I want to call you, but I know you won't be there. You can hear... It's like you see the death of the father, and you can see it. And it's just a girl reaching out to call out to her dad one more time, but she can't because she walked away from him. Obviously, like an argument or something happened and something in her past. That you can't emulate, except, you hear it. And I think that's why she must have been when she was a little girl. If it happened when she was a little girl or whatever, she heard Etta James singing and automatically, click, there it is. Somebody I can identify to, and that's what carried her on with her legacy. She got strong. That's where Stronger came in too. She got stronger. She got to be a fighter. She just came out, and look at where she's at now. She's literally on top of the world. We're all here because of her in this class, idolizing her in a way, putting her up there for helping us out. And it's just, it's a tearjerker. It makes you. It's those songs that make you cry. It's those songs that just, I lost my dad 2 years ago, and I know exactly, not being able to say goodbye. So you understand from those first lines, it just grips you. That right there, that's a great Etta James influence on her.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that you're totally on board. Like, that song in particular is like super powerful, super emotional, and I think that the music video, it's like, if everyone hasn't seen the Hurt music video, it's really sad. It's very and it's about I think it's about her father, and like you said, it's just really super connected to the song and the lyrics, and it's amazing. So let's move on to our final topic. We have about 20 minutes left, so we're just running out of time. So talking about probably the hardest question and the biggest question was, what was Etta's impact on American culture, jazz and soul music? What other artists today, aside from Christina, do you see her impact or her inspiration? And then how do you see it, and where do you see that? I think the obvious answer is Beyonce, her singing "At Last" at President Obama's inaugural ceremony, but also she performed as Etta James, like in the movie Cadillac Records.
Mm-hmm.
So that's someone who's hugely inspired by Etta, has talked about it a lot, and that's just like one example. And I have like a whole list, but I wanted to let everyone else talk too. Who else have you seen an inspiration in? Or yeah,
I see a lot in Jennifer Hudson.
Oh yeah.
She just like owns the stage. Doesn't require a lot of like flash or background noise or whatever. She just stands there and she owns the stage, and she's very simple, but like this huge, powerful voice. Another person that has that same characteristic is the lead singer, I think, of the Alabama Shakes. If anybody else listens to them, oh my gosh, I saw them last week, and she was just like owning it. Oh my gosh, she would do the same thing where she would just riff for a couple minutes while the band is playing behind her, and it would just be them like going together kind of in this live performance where it doesn't sound very similar to the recorded version, but it just is this amazing like thing that pulls you in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this was written about in some of the articles that I was reading over, but also like the influence that Etta James had on Adele and Adele's singing style, and how Adele really wanted to pull a lot of her singing techniques from that deep, soulful way that Etta James sang, you know, and I think that's how she's influenced, like, you know, in terms of artists of today that we look at. I think it's really fascinating, you know. I mean, Etta wasn't as successful in terms of her career as some of these artists that now have really taken a lot of her different techniques and made them their own. And so I find that really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think we have a lot of comments.
Yeah, so in the comments you can see people are talking about inspirations being Janis Joplin, Amy Winehouse,
sure.
Diana Ross. I mean, people who are not just from today, but from the past, like forever. Like the years that have been going back from Etta James' beginning to now. Like so many people have been inspired by then. What were you gonna say, Alma?
Yeah, Etta James has had big impact on American cultures and influenced a lot of great performers during the old times, like Bonnie Raitt and Tina Turner. And also, when she did the All the Way album, it was featured covered versions of a song by Prince, and also by Marvin Gaye and James Brown. And that is awesome and phenomenal. Yes.
Yeah.
And also, you know, even the British group, the Rolling Stones, they were influenced also by Etta James. Yes.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because we were talking, I mean, they're not the Rolling Stones, but we were talking earlier, the three of us were talking about, there's a great video performance, and I don't know if we'll have the time to watch it, but it's a performance with Santana and James Hook, I want to say, who it was, something like that. And it was like this really great performance of her singing with them. And it's crazy how you can see Etta's voice goes through different genres, and that not just like the things she's saying, but in rock influence too. And she actually did a cover, and I can't remember who it was, but she did a cover of some. I'm gonna look it up and I'm gonna put it in the Facebook group. But I remember reading she did a cover of like a major rock band in the '90s that you wouldn't have expected her to do. But it's great. I listened to it and I was like, oh, this is amazing. But it's like a song you guys all know. It's definitely like a big song and a big rock band. But I'll look it up and find it and put it in the Facebook group, you guys.
You know, my wife and I were just talking about Leona Lewis's One of them, Alicia Keys, and like I said, mentioned the Tony Braxton. And I don't know if it's true, but look at Whitney Houston. Look at Whitney Houston. That right there, she could have been influenced by Etta James somewhat because she got that deep soul of pulling it out. She really pulled off her trademark song, "I Will Always Love You" from the Bodyguard soundtrack in that movie. It's like, think about that. Etta James could have been an influence in that. It just, like I said, go back to the whole thought process of influencing past singers, influencing the next generation, which influences the next generation, and it just keeps going. We need that in culture. We need more of Etta James's influence in culture today, at least in my opinion. We need more of that. And that's why I like the R&B side of things. The R&B kind of goes jazzy, and Whitney Houston, and Alicia Keys, boom, right there, and Leona Lewis. That listen to a song of hers called "My Hands." It was in the Final Fantasy video game soundtrack, but it kind of reminded me of Etta James's influence. It's so soulful, it brings it out.
Yeah, and what I was gonna say is building upon like what Julian said is that she didn't get the recognition immediately. It took a while, and then Etta like took this break. She disappeared for a little bit, for like 6-7 years, and like I think it was 10 years before she like released music, and then she had like a resurgence after that. Like it was like her original stuff was like very successful and then it was big well, but it wasn't as successful as other artists. It wasn't like she wasn't as recognized at least. She didn't win her first Grammy until like I want to say the 90s, something like that. Yeah, okay, almost agreeing with me. It was like the 90s, and that's crazy to think about that she won a Grammy until the 90s, and she was been around for so long, and she was so successful, and so many great songs that we listen to today.
That are being sampled.
And like music, like Flowrider and like Avicii. They're all these like songs that are like sampling her today, and like she didn't get that recognition until so much later.
Yeah.
Even though she was like, as some of the performances you saw, like she was performing and she was successful, but like her influence wasn't really recognized till a very long time after. Which makes you think like Christina was very young when Etta had this resurgence. And she like started getting like this like big thing. So I wonder how much Etta's popularity in culture at that time had an impact on how much Christina saw of her. And I wonder if she hadn't had that resurgence, if we'd see that inspiration in Christina today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really interesting to think about that. Eva through and three also said Mariah Carey was hugely inspired by Etta James as well. Anyone? Well, okay, guys. So that's the end of our discussion. We have 10 minutes left. Sorry, I was trying to unmute. You guys can unmute yourselves to say goodbye.
Okay.
We have a video. I'm going to post it in the group. It's Etta James's last performance. It's her singing "At Last" on Dancing with the Stars. I think it's a great video. It's a great performance from Etta. And we'll share it in the Facebook group so everyone can view it. And just like see what we talked about. The thing that brought us all here today was Etta James and Christina Aguilera's being inspiration from her. So I think it's a nice tribute, as Brian said earlier, to like show her final performance and see this amazing magic happen one last time. If you guys have any thoughts, feel free to leave it in the comments on the Facebook page, or if you want to leave a comment in the chat room, it'll still be open if you want to say anything else about the discussion topics today. We're always looking to do more events like this. This has been really great. I think we had some amazing co-hosts, so thank you, Alma and Brian, for being here. You guys were great. Also, thank you to Julian, who doesn't usually come to things, but he was so inspired to come today, so it's great to have Julian here. And was awesome. We're glad to have Hillary as well for her first community event here at Masterclass. Thank you, everybody in the chat rooms. Loved hearing what you guys had to say. If you have an idea for a future discussion, performance review, or a future like community activity that you'd like to do, please post it in the Facebook group. Let me know. I'd love to help organize it and set it up. But we'll continue to do these things. I think it's a great start for us, and loved having you all here. Thank you, guys.
Nice meeting everybody, and
thank you so much.
I'll post that other video too, the Santana one that we talked about.
Yeah, definitely post that video, because that one's so good. We'll post all the videos, as many as we can find that we talked about today. We'll post them in the Facebook group. And if you have any at home, remember to share them in the Facebook group too.
And yeah, please, Brad, try to find that Christina video if you can. You said it was out there, so try to find that.
Yeah, I know. The one where maybe it's just a video of her talking about it. I'll find it for sure.
Okay, awesome.
Cool.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.